This guide is here to help you sharpen your critical thinking skills. These skills matter a lot for making smart choices and tackling problems in life, whether at home or at work. You'll learn to spot and overcome biases, question what you hear, embrace different viewpoints, and build your mental toughness. It's a great read for students, professionals, or anyone interested in bettering themselves. With this book, you'll be on your way to reaching your goals and succeeding in all aspects of life. Chapter 1. What is critical thinking? Have you ever noticed how some people seem to handle life's challenges like it's a walk in the park, while others struggle with even the simplest decisions? Well, the secret lies in critical thinking. This powerful skill unlocks your full potential, both in your personal life and career. But what is critical thinking, and why does it matter so much in today's fast-paced, information-heavy world? Many people get it wrong. Critical thinking isn't about arguing or shutting down other people's ideas. It's about taking a thoughtful approach to thinking. This means analyzing, assessing, and putting together information to make clear judgments and decisions. It's having the ability to pause, step back from knee-jerk reactions and look at situations objectively, considering different angles and possible results. Some think critical thinking is just a natural gift. Either you have it or you don't. That's a myth. Critical thinking is a skill you can develop over time, just like lifting weights to build muscle. The more you practice, the stronger you'll become. With this skill, problem-solving will feel easier, decision-making will be clearer, and you'll face life's uncertainties with confidence. The perks of becoming a critical thinker go beyond just school or work. In your personal life, it helps you connect better with others by boosting your communication and empathy. You'll understand different perspectives, resolve conflicts more smoothly, and make choices that truly reflect your values and goals. On the job, employers across all fields are on the lookout for critical thinking skills. It's what distinguishes true leaders and innovators from those who merely follow orders. As you set off on this journey to boost your critical thinking skills, you'll realize it's not just about shifting your thoughts. It's about reshaping how you live your life. You'll start questioning what you take for granted, challenging your own biases, and tackling problems with creativity and an open mind. This book is your roadmap for this change. It's packed with practical tools, exercises, and insights to help you build a mindset geared toward critical thinking. In the upcoming chapters, we'll lay the groundwork of critical thinking, dive into the nitty-gritty of logical reasoning, and spotlight the hidden biases that can cloud our judgment. You'll pick up effective techniques for problem-solving, making decisions, and communicating well. But before we jump into those discussions, we need to look inward. To truly master critical thinking, we first have to understand the complex maze of our own minds. As we wrap up this introductory chapter, take a moment to reflect. Are you prepared to challenge what you think you know, broaden your viewpoint, and reach your full potential? The road ahead might not always be smooth, but the benefits, they're huge. In the next chapter, we'll kick off by exploring the intriguing world of your thought patterns. It's the critical first step in reshaping your mindset for personal growth. And hey, before we move forward, don't forget to subscribe to Grow to the Top and turn on notifications for more self-improvement tips that'll rev up your growth. Chapter 2. Understanding Your Thought Patterns. Imagine your mind as a vast, uncharted territory. Within it lies a wealth of insights and creativity, but there are also risky traps of bias and misunderstanding. To safely navigate this landscape, you need to become very familiar with it. This is where the critical thinking journey kicks off, with and self-awareness. Self-awareness is the bedrock of critical thinking. It's your ability to step back and observe your own thoughts, feelings, and actions like an outside observer. This skill helps you spot thinking patterns, recognize your strengths and weaknesses, and see how your experiences and beliefs shape your view of the world. A powerful way to build self-awareness is through mindfulness. When you practice mindfulness, you start to notice your thoughts and feelings right now without judging them. It can be as easy as taking a few minutes each day to sit quietly and just notice how your mind works. Over time, you'll spot patterns, triggers, and ways you usually think that you might not have seen before. Reflective journaling is another great tool for digging into your thought patterns. Writing down your thoughts and experiences gives you a concrete way to look at your inner world. As you keep this record, you'll uncover insights about how you make decisions, respond emotionally, and what beliefs drive you. You might find out that you jump to conclusions too quickly or blow small problems out of proportion. As you become aware of your thinking habits, you may hit some uncomfortable truths. We all have biases. These are ways our thinking trips us up and leads us to make poor judgments. They're often automatic, slipping under our radar. For example, there's confirmation bias, which makes us look for info that backs up what we already believe while ignoring anything that contradicts it. Then there's the availability heuristic, which tricks us into thinking something is more likely just because it's easy to bring to mind. Spotting these biases in yourself isn't easy, but it's a key step to improving your critical thinking. Once you notice your biases, you can start to reduce their impact on your choices and problem solving. One solid way to reveal hidden biases and beliefs is to get feedback from others. This means being open and a bit vulnerable to criticism, which is vital for your growth. Ask friends, colleagues, or mentors for their honest thoughts about what you do well and where you might struggle. Their insights can uncover things you might overlook in your own reflections. As you dig deeper into your patterns, you might feel some pushback from your mind. It's normal to feel defensive or uneasy when challenging beliefs or habits you've held onto for a long time. But keep in mind that discomfort shows you're growing. Getting on board with this is crucial for building the mental flexibility you'll need for critical thinking. By the end of this chapter, you'll have a better understanding of the intricate landscape of your mind. But remember, this is just the start. As we go along, you'll find out how to use this self-awareness as a stepping stone to develop more advanced critical thinking skills. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the basic principles of critical thinking and start putting together the toolkit you'll need to tackle even the toughest intellectual challenges. Chapter 3: The Basics of Critical Thinking. Imagine yourself as an explorer standing at the brink of a vast unknown wilderness. The landscape before you is your mind, and the map you hold is critical thinking. But just having a map isn't enough. You need the right tools and skills to navigate through this tricky terrain. In this chapter, we'll arm you with the key tools of critical thinking, logical reasoning, and evidence-based thinking. Logical reasoning is what holds critical thinking together. It's all about drawing conclusions based on evidence and solid arguments. At its core, logical reasoning means identifying your starting points, the information or beliefs you begin with, and working through to their logical conclusions. It might sound a bit abstract, but we do this every day, often without even realizing it. Take a simple example. All cats are mammals. Fluffy is a cat. So, Fluffy is a mammal. This is a straightforward type of deductive reasoning. If the starting points are true, then the conclusion must also be true. As we dig deeper into logical reasoning, you'll learn to spot and build more complex arguments and identify mistakes in reasoning known as logical fallacies. Logical fallacies are errors that can lead to wrong conclusions, even if the starting points seem valid. Some common fallacies include the ad hominem attack, where someone dismisses an argument based on personal traits instead of the argument itself; the false dichotomy, where only two choices are offered when more options are available; and the slippery slope, where it's assumed one event will inevitably cause a chain reaction of related events without proof. By learning to spot these fallacies, you'll be able to identify problems in other people's arguments and steer clear of them in your own thinking. This skill is crucial today, with persuasive messages all around us, from ads to political speeches. But just having logical reasoning isn't enough. Critical thinking also means sticking to evidence-based thinking. That's about grounding your conclusions in facts you can verify and data you can trust, not just relying on personal beliefs, emotions, or stories. It's important to look for quality information, check the credibility of your evidence, and be open to changing your mind when you come across new and convincing facts. To adopt this evidence-based approach, you need to nurture a few key attitudes: curiosity, open-mindedness, and intellectual humility. Curiosity pushes us to ask questions, dive into new information, and consider different viewpoints. Open-mindedness helps us entertain ideas that might shake up our current beliefs. And intellectual humility reminds us that our knowledge isn't complete and that there's always something to learn from others, even when we don't see eye to eye. These attitudes are the bedrock of what we call a critical thinking mindset. This mindset means questioning assumptions, including your own, having a healthy skepticism towards unproven claims, and being dedicated to lifelong learning. Cultivating this mindset isn't always easy. You'll need to step outside your comfort zone, face your biases, and sometimes admit when you're wrong. But the benefits are huge. With a strong critical thinking mindset, you'll handle complex issues better, make informed decisions, and genuinely engage with a variety of perspectives. As we wrap up this chapter, you should have a good handle on the basics of critical thinking. You see the value in logical reasoning and evidence-backed decisions, and you're on your way to embracing the right attitudes for critical thinking. But knowing these principles is just the starting point. To really master critical thinking, we have to learn to deal with one of the biggest challenges to clear thinking: our own biases. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the intriguing realm of cognitive biases. We'll discover how these biases shape our thinking and learn effective ways to tackle them. Chapter 4. Beating Cognitive Biases. Imagine you're playing chess, certain of your strategy and ready for your opponent's moves. Then it hits you. Half of your pieces are invisible. This scenario is a lot like what we face with cognitive biases. They're the sneaky factors in our mental game, shaping our choices and judgments without us even knowing. In this chapter, we'll bring those hidden pieces into view and learn how to take control of the game. Cognitive biases are just those systematic slip-ups in thinking that cloud our judgments and decisions. They aren't flaws in character or signs of being not so smart. In fact, they're a normal part of how our brains simplify information. We often use these mental shortcuts or heuristics in everyday life, but when it comes to complex situations that need deep thinking, they can mislead us. Take confirmation bias, for example. It's our habit of looking for, interpreting, and remembering information that backs up what we already believe. That's why we easily embrace evidence that supports our views, while picking apart or ignoring anything that doesn't fit. For instance, if you think a certain diet is the best, you might share articles that align with your belief but overlook studies that suggest otherwise. Then there's the anchoring effect. This is when we lean too much on the first bit of info we get while making decisions. Ever noticed how the initial price of a car can sway bargaining? It can really throw you off, even if that price is totally random. Another bias is the availability heuristic, which makes us overestimate the chances of events that we can easily recall or imagine. That's why many people fear plane crashes more than car accidents, even though the latter is actually more dangerous statistically. Recognizing these biases is the first step in overcoming them, but just being aware isn't enough. We need tactics to counter their sway. A great strategy is to actively look for information that challenges what you already believe. This doesn't mean you don't have to shift your opinion on everything, but it's important to really think about different points of view. Try tuning into news outlets or thinkers who don't share your views. Have respectful conversations with those who think differently. Remember, the aim isn't to win arguments, it's about expanding your knowledge. Another helpful tactic is to practice mental flexibility. This means intentionally considering different explanations or outcomes for what's going on. If you start jumping to conclusions, take a moment and ask yourself, what other options am I missing? That simple question can lead you to new ideas and keep you from thinking too narrowly. Getting into the habit of seeking out diverse opinions can fight against biases. When faced with big decisions, talk to people from different backgrounds and experiences. Their points of view can highlight blind spots in your thinking and help you catch things you might not have considered. It's also vital to embrace intellectual humility, which means recognizing that you don't know everything and that you can learn from others. This mindset allows you to admit when you're wrong and change your views based on new information. Remember, changing your mind isn't a weakness. It's a sign that you're growing and becoming more mature in your thinking. As you tackle biases, be aware that your mind may resist. Our biases are deeply rooted, and questioning them can feel uneasy or even scary. But that discomfort means you're stepping out of your comfort zone, and that's where real growth occurs. By the end of this chapter, you should grasp common cognitive biases and how to tackle them. You're building the mental flexibility and openness to see different perspectives. But spotting biases and thinking flexibly is just part of mastering critical thinking. To really get the hang of these skills, we need to put them to work in real-life situations. So, are you ready to put your new knowledge into action? In the next chapter, we'll dive into effective problem-solving techniques, learning to tackle complex issues in a systematic and creative way. You'll learn how to tackle huge problems by breaking them down into smaller, manageable pieces and come up with fresh solutions. Things are about to get tougher, but also way more rewarding. Chapter 5. Useful Problem-Solving Techniques. Picture yourself facing a huge, tangled knot. At first it looks impossibly complicated, with no clear start or end. This knot stands for the tough challenges we encounter in life. Overwhelming, complex, and seemingly unsolvable. But with the right techniques, you can untie even the most intricate knots. In this chapter, we'll dive into effective problem-solving methods that will change how you deal with challenges. The first step in solving a problem is to clearly define what it is. Often, what seems like one problem is actually a bunch of connected issues. By chopping the bigger problem into smaller pieces, you can start to see possible solutions more clearly. This process, called problem decomposition, is like picking apart the threads of our metaphorical knot. Once you've spotted the main pieces of the problem, it's time to gather information. This step is super important but often missed. Many people rush to find solutions without fully grasping the problem, which can lead to unhelpful answers. So, cast a wide net while gathering information. Look at different viewpoints. Talk to experts if you can, and check for patterns that might reveal the root causes. With a clear view of the problem and the relevant info at hand, it's time to brainstorm potential solutions. This is where creativity comes into play. Brainstorming is a strong tool at this stage. The trick is to hold off on judgment at first and let ideas flow freely, no matter how wild they sound. Sometimes the craziest ideas lead to the most innovative solutions. After you've got a list of possible solutions, it's time to assess them. This is where your critical thinking skills shine. Weigh the pros and cons of each option. Consider how doable they are, what outcomes you might expect, and any unexpected consequences that could arise. Try to stay as objective as possible during this stage, putting aside personal preferences or biases. After thorough evaluation, pick the most promising solution. Come up with a promising solution and create a plan to put it into action. Break it down into steps you can actually take. If you're on a team, make sure everyone has a role and set some clear deadlines. But don't forget, solving the problem doesn't stop once you implement the plan. It's really important to keep an eye on the outcome and be ready to tweak things if necessary. One of the best techniques in problem solving is to change how you look at the issue. Sometimes the way we define a problem can box us in. By exploring different viewpoints, we might find fresh, creative solutions we hadn't thought of before. As you work on your problem-solving skills, you're going to hit some bumps along the way. You might feel like you're stuck, overwhelmed, or just plain frustrated. When that happens, know that it's totally normal. Take a breather, clear your mind, and come back to the problem later. Often the answer emerges when we stop trying so hard to find it. By the end of this chapter, you should have a solid set of tools to tackle tough problems. You get how important it is to define issues clearly, gather the right information, brainstorm and evaluate solutions, and then put your plan into action while keeping tabs on how it's working. But remember, effective problem solving is just one piece of the critical thinking puzzle. To truly master these skills, you also need to learn how to analyze information and arguments clearly and accurately. In the next chapter, we'll dive into how to analyze information and arguments, giving you the skills to sort out fact from fiction and sound reasoning from faulty logic. Chapter 6. Analyzing information and arguments. Imagine yourself as a detective at the scene of an intellectual mystery. In front of you is a tangled web of claims, evidence, and conclusions. Your job? Untangle this web, find the truth, and shine a light on any shaky reasoning. This is what analyzing information and arguments is all about, an essential skill for critical thinkers. At the core of this skill is the ability to break down an argument into its basic parts. Every argument, no matter how complicated it seems, can be simplified into three key elements: claims, premises, and conclusions. Claims are statements about what's true or what should happen. Premises are the reasons or evidence that back up the claims. The conclusion is what the argument wants you to believe or accept. Take this basic example. All dogs are mammals. Fido is a dog. So, Fido is a mammal. Here, All dogs are mammals and Fido is a dog are the premises, while Fido is a mammal is the conclusion. Breaking arguments down like this makes it easier to check their strength and spot any weaknesses. Once you've figured out the parts of an argument, the next step is to look at the evidence. Ask yourself key questions. Is the evidence relevant? Is it reliable and from a trustworthy source? Does it give enough support for the conclusion? Be cautious of anecdotal evidence or selected data that doesn't show the full picture. As you analyze arguments, you'll notice different reasoning patterns. Some of these patterns are solid and make the argument stronger, while others are faulty and do the opposite. For instance, in our Fido example, called a syllogism, the reasoning is solid. If the premises are true, the conclusion has to be true. But many arguments rely on faulty patterns. An example is the slippery slope fallacy, which claims that one event will trigger a series of events without proof. If we allow same-sex marriage, then people will want to marry animals, is a typical case of this fallacy. Another common mistake is confusing correlation with causation. Just because two things happen together doesn't mean one causes the other. For example, ice cream sales and drowning incidents may rise together, but that doesn't mean ice cream leads to drowning. Both may just increase in the summer. As you sharpen your skills in breaking down arguments, stay on the lookout for hidden assumptions and unstated premises. Often, what's left unsaid in an argument can be just as crucial as what is said. For example, someone might say, "We should cut taxes to boost economic growth." This claim assumes that lower taxes always lead to growth, and that's an assumption worth examining closely. Developing these analytical skills takes time and practice. Start by using them on everyday situations, like analyzing ads, political speeches, or opinion pieces in newspapers. As you dive into this, you'll likely notice that many arguments that once seemed convincing just don't stand up when you really look at them. Keep in mind, the aim here isn't to win debates or show others they're wrong. It's about gaining a clearer insight into complicated issues and making smarter choices. By honing your analytical skills, you're getting ready to navigate the flood of information we face daily, distinguishing useful insights from misleading claims. As we wrap up this chapter, you should feel more sure of yourself when it comes to breaking down and assessing arguments. You grasp how crucial it is to identify claims, premises, and conclusions, to weigh the evidence, and to spot common patterns and flaws in reasoning. But in our tightly connected world, good critical thinking goes beyond just looking at one argument at a time. It's also about engaging with a variety of viewpoints and combining insights from different angles. In the next chapter, we'll look at ways to connect with diverse perspectives, build empathy, and weave together different viewpoints into your decision-making process. Chapter 7. Engaging with diverse perspectives. Picture yourself in a room where every wall is a different color, each showing a unique view of the world. As you walk around, your perspective changes, revealing new blends of colors and shades you hadn't noticed before. This mix of perspectives is pretty much like the variety of views we encounter in our connected world. In this chapter, we'll see how interacting with these different viewpoints can deepen our understanding and sharpen our critical thinking skills. The benefit of hearing diverse opinions is huge. When we open ourselves to different perspectives, we challenge our own assumptions, broaden our understanding, and often discover more nuanced and effective solutions to tricky problems. It's like adding more colors to our palette. The more colors we have, the richer and more vivid our picture of the world gets. But engaging with various viewpoints isn't always a walk in the park. It pushes us out of our comfort zones and forces us to face ideas that might shake our core beliefs. This can feel uncomfortable, even a bit unsettling at times. It's often that discomfort that sparks the biggest growth and insights. One effective way to seek out different viewpoints is by actively exposing yourself to ideas that challenge what you already believe. If you usually read liberal material, try checking out conservative articles instead, and vice versa. If you're in the scientific field, dive into the humanities. The aim here isn't to change your mind on everything, but to grasp where others are coming from and the reasoning behind their thoughts. When you engage with these different perspectives, make sure to practice active listening. Really pay attention to what others are saying, not just waiting for your turn to jump in. Try to grasp not just the words, but the reasons behind them. What experiences have shaped their views? What values or assumptions are at play? Building empathy is also key. It lets us step into someone else's shoes, even if we don't see eye to eye. We start to understand that, usually, everyone believes they're doing what's right based on their knowledge and experiences. A great method to foster empathy and understand diverse perspectives is steel manning. This is the opposite of straw manning, where you take down a weak version of someone's argument. With steel manning, you aim to present the strongest version of their argument, even if you don't agree with it. This not only deepens your understanding, but also strengthens your own thinking by engaging with the best version of opposing views. As you get better at this, decision-making might become tougher, but it also gets more fulfilling. You'll have a wider range of options and a deeper understanding of what your choices might lead to. A handy technique for weaving in all these perspectives during decision-making is to play devil's advocate with yourself or your team. Take the time to argue against your preferred choice, or have team members push different viewpoints. This can help reveal any gaps in your reasoning and lead to stronger decisions. Engaging with different viewpoints doesn't mean you have to give up your own beliefs. The goal isn't to create some bland agreement where all ideas are seen as equal. Instead, it's about broadening your understanding, questioning your own assumptions, and arriving at better, more thoughtful conclusions. As we wrap up this chapter, you should value the importance of diverse perspectives and have some practical ways to engage with them. You know how crucial active listening is, how to build empathy, and how to bring in various viewpoints when making choices. But remember, looking at different perspectives is just one piece of making good decisions. To really get a handle on this essential skill, we've got to dive into various decision-making strategies to help us tackle even the trickiest choices. In the next chapter, we'll explore some powerful strategies that will prepare you to face both everyday decisions and life-altering ones with clarity and insight, even when things feel uncertain. Chapter 8. Decision-Making Strategies for Success. Imagine you're at a crossroads with countless paths ahead of you. Each path represents a choice to make, and the future is wrapped in uncertainty. This is what decision-making is all about, choosing a direction when you don't have all the answers. In this chapter, we'll look at strategies to confidently navigate this tricky landscape. Effective decision-making isn't just a single choice, it's a process. It kicks off with clearly defining what decision needs to be made and gathering all the relevant information. That might seem straightforward, but many poor decisions happen because people don't frame the issue correctly or don't collect enough data. Take the time to get a full grasp of the decision at hand and gather as much relevant information as you can. Once you have that information, The next step is to identify and weigh your options. This is where your critical thinking skills really shine. Think about the potential outcomes for each choice, both short-term and long-term. What are the risks and rewards? How do these choices fit with your goals and values? Think beyond just the obvious options. Look for creative alternatives that might not be right in front of you. A great tool for weighing your choices is the decision matrix. This means writing down your options and what's important for each decision, then scoring each choice based on those important factors. This way, you can clearly see how complex choices stack up against each other and find the one that suits you best. As you think about your choices, remember to balance logic and intuition. Sure, analyzing facts and data is key, but don't ignore what your gut is telling you. Intuition often comes from recognizing patterns based on past experiences. The trick is to mix both logic and intuition instead of leaning too heavily on one. Another important part of making decisions is handling uncertainty. Often we just don't have all the info we wish we had. One way to deal with this is scenario planning. Picture different possible futures and think about how your decision might unfold in each. This helps you spot risks and opportunities that could slip under the radar. Watch out for common traps in decision-making. One of them is analysis paralysis, where you get so focused on gathering info that you stall and never decide. Keep in mind, sometimes making a timely decision is better than striving for perfection. Groupthink is another pitfall, where the need for everyone to get along leads to poor decisions. To avoid that, welcome differing opinions and consider having a devil's advocate to challenge the group's thoughts. As you sharpen your decision-making skills, you might hit moments where you feel stuck. When that happens, try techniques like the 5 whys, asking why repeatedly to dig into the problem, or the Eisenhower matrix that helps you prioritize based on importance and urgency. Changing the way you think about the problem can also lead to new insights. Remember, the aim of these strategies isn't to wipe out all risks or uncertainty. It's about making choices that are informed and well thought out. Align yourself with your goals and values. No matter how solid your decision-making process is, there will always be some uncertainty. The trick is to be okay with that uncertainty and ready to adjust as new information comes in. As we wrap up this chapter, you should feel armed with different strategies to boost your decision-making skills. You now get how vital it is to clearly define problems, gather the right information, weigh your options fairly, and handle that uncertainty. But making good decisions is just one part of the bigger picture. To really succeed in today's complicated world, we also need to build mental resilience, the ability to adapt, learn, and grow when faced with challenges or setbacks. In the next chapter, we'll dive into some powerful strategies for developing that resilience, giving you the tools to face difficulties with confidence and turn setbacks into chances for growth. Chapter 9. Building Mental Resilience. Picture yourself as a strong oak tree, standing tall in the middle of a fierce storm. The winds are howling and the rain is pouring, but your roots are deep and your trunk is sturdy. This is what mental resilience is all about. The ability to weather life's storms, bend but not break, and come out even stronger after facing adversity. In this chapter, we'll look at how to nurture this essential quality and use it to boost your critical thinking and overall well-being. Mental resilience isn't just about toughing it out or keeping a stiff upper lip when times get tough. It's a dynamic process that means adapting well when facing adversity, trauma, or major stress. Resilience helps us bounce back from setbacks, learn from our failures, and even thrive under pressure. The basis of mental resilience is understanding and managing our emotions. It doesn't mean pushing our feelings aside. Rather, it's about developing emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our emotions effectively. By building this emotional intelligence, we can meet challenges with clarity and purpose instead of just reacting out of raw emotion. A great way to boost your emotional intelligence is through mindfulness meditation. This practice helps you focus on the present moment, acknowledging and accepting your thoughts and feelings without any judgment. Practicing mindfulness regularly can boost your self-awareness, lower your stress levels, and help you manage your emotions better. Another key piece of mental resilience is having a growth mindset. This idea, highlighted by psychologist Carol Dweck, is about believing that we can improve our skills and intelligence through hard work, learning, and sticking with it. People who have a growth mindset see challenges as chances to grow, not as a tax on their self-esteem. They accept failure as a step in learning rather than a sign of their value.